Alrighty, folks. I love it when my guests come prepared and they turn the tables on me. Apparently, Cody has prepared 10 questions for Zuber, and I have no idea what any of them are. So let's roll. What do you got?
Yeah, and they're on a few different topics. So I'm going to jump into the first one. I'm not sure you've ever been asked this.
Okay.
What was the last decision you made that you weren't qualified to make, but made anyway, and how did it work out?
Wow. What was the last decision I made that I wasn't qualified for, and how did it work out? Hmm. So for me, I'm not a technologist, right? I don't use AI a lot, if ever. I don't lean into technology. I really lean on other people to say, hey, use this, use that, for example. But I would say making the switch from a private Facebook group that had over 2,000 members and was very active to a school community that costs money, frankly, it's $20 a month, all because of one thing, right? I wasn't able to communicate directly with my 2,000 school private Facebook group because of the way Facebook works. That was a very rash decision made out of utter frustration that could have backfired. And near as I can tell, the Facebook group is still active, although I don't participate. But the school community is the best decision I think I've ever made. And again, it was made with complete frustration. I'm often an emotional person, probably more than I like to admit. And I was pissed one morning, and I'm like, well, I'm not using Facebook anymore, and I'm going to try this school thing and see what happens. So I didn't ask for advice. I didn't ask for opinions. I didn't evaluate any other tools. I just, it was one of those ready, fire, aims, and it seemed to work out.
I'd say so. I mean, there's people posting on there every single day, so people love being there. So that was definitely a success. Now let's chat about maybe mistakes that you've made, because that one did play out well. What's a mistake you make repeatedly, even after doing this journey for over a decade?
I think I kind of just admitted it. I'm a very emotional person. I may come across as disciplined in execution, which is right for the most part, but there are events in my life that happen that just caused me to do a complete 180, dump something that I've been, like that private Facebook group I've been working on for 5 years. I dumped it in a 60-second, bit of rage. This is probably most obvious with the stock market, right? I'm an emotional buyer of stocks and an emotional seller, which means, frankly, I shouldn't buy stocks. For the most part, I don't. But, like this year, I made an emotional decision when Tim Waltz was picking on Elon Musk. I bought Tesla, and made a little money. I made an emotional decision to buy Facebook sub 100, which worked out. But I sold both of those, on the way up and rung the register way too early. But again, I just know sometimes you got to know thyself, and I am an emotional person more than I want to admit. And often that means I lose a boatload of money in stocks. I am not wired to be a stock market investor. I know it. I own it. I wish I was. But I am a horrible stock market investor and often lose money.
I suppose it's a good thing you're a real estate guy then.
Yeah, it's a lot slower. You can't really make an emotional decision to sell a piece of property. Yeah.
So that's a character fault then. Let's talk about skills. Sure. What would be the skill that took you the longest to master? Because you are very disciplined when it comes to your buy box. You've really honed in what you want, and that's going to be part of my speech at the ORaaT event in Vegas. It's going to be a lot of fun. Out of your skill sets, which one took you the longest to develop?
I'm glad you're asking these questions. This is one I might appear good at now, but I've worked on it for 20 years and I'm nowhere close to where I should be. I am so comfortable grinding by myself, uncomfortably comfortable grinding by myself. I don't ask for help very often, if ever. I don't network nearly as much as I should. I don't reach out. I don't you know, there's this saying that goes something like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And dude, I'm just learned through my childhood that it's better to do things alone. You don't get beat up. You don't get disappointed. You don't have heartburn. And frankly, at least in real estate, because it is a people business, it's a mistake. I would be remarkably farther if the first 5 years, Cody, I didn't do everything by myself on a spreadsheet behind, you know, thinking that people were going to copy my homework, right? That's not how you do this business. But even today, like I think Jason Pritchard's probably the best networker I know. Ty, TYLG, best networker I know. Even Dion and Matt, in Millennial Mike and you. I mean, I look at you guys, and to me, it feels like you're butterflies, just easily bouncing from flower to flower. And for me, dude, it's work. You know, I'm like a caterpillar, like uncomfortably calling on the ground, trying to get to that flower. And you guys are on 17 flowers already. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, how do I keep up? So that is a skill I admittedly never had. I am horrible at. And I will probably be working that on my entire life. Well, I guess the only good thing I can tell you, at least I know now it's a weakness. But dude, for 40 years, I didn't even realize it was a weakness. I thought it was a strength that I could do it by myself. And it's not. It's a horrible weakness of mine.
Did you build that skill out of necessity or out of loneliness?
I built it out of observation. I observe people that are doing better, and better's, you know, on anything, right? Relationships, family, just better.
Sure.
And the more and more I saw of these people I already rattled off, what they had that I didn't have was that positive network. Like I could have gone through life having one friend, and that's Olivia, right? I consider her my best friend, which is cool, but you need more than your wife being your best friend, right? You need a circle of brothers. You need other friends in the next network. But I never thought that way. I thought extending yourself out to others was a sign of weakness and would only lead to negative outcomes. So I never did it, right? It's just what I was taught growing up or learned by experience. And that's just not the case. So I learned it via observation, and I'm glad I did. I'm upset it took till I was over 40. But you know, I am where I am for some of that because I was a solo grinder. But man, I would have been happier, probably farther ahead, certainly happier if I would have had a band of brothers. And I use brothers as, you know, it could have been women too, but if I would have had a band of brothers, like if I would have had a handful of best friends, like, dude, I don't know about you. I mean, you're decades younger than me, but I know I speak with nobody from high school, nobody from college, nobody from my youth, nobody from my last career, right? I just don't have those relationships on purpose, right? When work was done, left. When school was done, left. I did college wrong. I went to college at 7:30 a.m., was out by 10:30, went to work at noon, worked till 8, and did homework after that. I had no ability because I was married at 19 to do anything else. So yeah, I was learned via observation.
I want to put it out there. I think you answered it and addressed it in there. But a question I did have for you was, what's the most emotionally painful moment in your journey you've never shared publicly? It sounds like that might be it.
Yeah, probably is a realization that I did it wrong. And by wrong, it didn't have to be so hard. It didn't have to be so lonely. It's and I'm glad I finally found it. I mean, life is so much better these last 10 years when I have friends and people I can talk to and commiserate with. It's so much better. But I was just I built up such a shell that I just wouldn't let anybody in. And again, I was doing it on purpose. It's not like other people didn't try to be my friend, but I was like, no, you want something. You're going to steal something. You're going to disappoint me. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. I would repel them or ignore them. And I'm shocked I made it to 40 without having any real friends.
Well, and there might be some people that they're going to have different negative experiences, similar but different. And my takeaway from this is, even though you went through all that, had you been making those friends sooner, there may not be a one rental at a time community.
I mean,
May not
certainly
happen.
possible. Yeah, certainly possible. You know, a lot of what I share were built on the back of doing things solo, right? Buy box, daily discipline, you know, those things. I would like to think, and again, but this you would never know. I would like to think one rental at a time would have started earlier, is how I look at it. I don't know that for sure, but I would have liked to see that if I had a circle of brothers around me a decade earlier, that I would have seen what I was doing was unique, because the reason one rental at a time came out after I retired was because I finally realized, holy shit, a buy box and daily discipline is unique. I was like, nobody doing this, nobody talking about it. And I like to think it would have come out earlier, but to your point, there's no guarantee. This may not be a thing.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be a positive out of the negative. I'd say one rental at a time coming out of all that, you are helping a lot of people at the expense of a lot of your time. So that is cool.
Yeah.
And appreciated.
I would make that trade anytime. If you told me, hey, Zuber, you could do exactly what you did and then grow one rental at a time at 52 or whatever it was, or, you know, you could be a little bit happier a decade earlier and have better friendships. I would trade the lack of friends for building our community. Because again, back to my first video, which I think you watched the other day based on your comment, my first video on my channel was about building a legacy, and that North Star hasn't changed. I'm trying to build something that lasts 50 years after I'm dead. And I think our school community might be the thing. I think it's the school community. I think it's the book. And then it's the YouTube channel. These things really could survive 50 years after I'm gone.
It's evergreen content. I mean, you plug and play it in any market. You do the work, you get your buy box. That's not going to go away.
I certainly hope not. And if it does, I'll tell people, but it hasn't, it's worked for 100 years. And I don't know why it won't work for the next 100.
Yeah. They're just going to use tools like AI to help make it go faster. So
certainly possible.
Well, moving on to the ORaaT community, since we're on that topic, what's the biggest misunderstanding some of the new folks in the community take away that you wish you could just erase?
I think some people come to the community assuming we're going to whisper the secret in their ear. And, you know, hopefully most people realize there is no secret. It's focus, it's daily discipline, it's writing offers, it's following up. I do think some people come to us hoping we're going to give them the cheat code and don't realize we've already told them what the cheat code is. Hello, do the work. You know, I think some people are looking for us to wave a magic wand and give them the secret, you know, LLC structure or trusts or lending or whatever. And that's not what we do. There is no secret. We're not lawyers. We can only share based on experience. In fact, on my school page, right at the bottom says, we're not accountants or lawyers. We can only share our experience, not give advice. And, you know, I think some people come hoping for the super secret easy button or the code word. And unfortunately, the code word is do the work, focus, follow up, execute. Takes a decade. The first 5 years suck. It doesn't change. But I do think some people come hoping for the, ooh, I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah, I like that. Let's talk about some memories, because I went down memory lane. I actually posted a video. You referred to it in school. I think it was from 6 years. It was a while back. And
I remember.
You called your shot. Everything you talked about in that video, you ended up posting videos about. So you stuck to it. That was cool. What's the earliest memory you have? Like, longest lasting that shaped the way you think about money, just in general?
My mother tells this story. So my memory is not great. In my family, my mom and my sister have the memory, but I guess I'll give you a couple. One of the things I remember is we had this black linoleum floor and I would stack pennies. I would literally count pennies in stacks of 10. And, you know, and then I would knock them over and I would do it again. I have no idea why that was fun to me, but it was fun. I don't know why, but it was fun to me. And so I remember that. And again, it was very boring, but I was in my own head. Nobody else was around me. I was doing my thing. They were neat rows and they were all lined up, and, you know, the row made $1 and then, you know, 10 rows made $10. And for whatever reason, that was seriously entertainment for me. I have no idea how broken I was, but that was literally entertainment for me. I could do that for hours. And again, I think that goes back to the point of I'm very comfortable being alone and doing my thing my way. And another thing I remember is I had a bank that, you put money in and you pulled the handle and it would know, is it a nickel, a quarter, a dime, right? It would count for you and the money would come up on the screen. And for whatever reason, it would always screw up on a dime for some reason. And I would just get so frustrated. I would empty it out and start over. And my mom's like, why don't you just know there's an extra dime in there? Why do you got to put it all in there again? And I'm like, Mom, it's wrong. And again, did a dime really make a difference? Absolutely not. But I knew when I looked at it, it was wrong. And I just had to do it again. These are all, a lot of my early memories, lots of them have to do with money. And it really comes from the point that money was scarce in my household. And the only time there was joy is when there was money around. And there was not a lot of money around. But I mean, from little, I was trying to do everything about money. I would trade baseball cards. I would buy broken bikes and fix them. I would do anything I could to try to have money. I had an under the table job at 12 years old working at a dry cleaner, paid cash. I got a job at 13 when I had to get a worker's permit at a fast food joint. And I would do anything I could because I didn't like the fact that money led to violence and stress and really unhappiness for my mom and my sister, right? When there was no money, Dad was an animal, and I just equated that with a man's responsibility, and I was going to do what I could to go find or create money. And it was probably an unhealthy obsession, but and I had that for 50 years, probably an unhealthy obsession with everything being money oriented. I backed off a little bit the last 3 or 4 years, but yeah, money was dark, man. Money was power. Money was power. And that's what I learned from that.
You are very good at storytelling, because this is the second time you've answered another question I have on my sheet. That's, yeah. I mean, I had a question: is what's a belief you held early in your journey that you now see as completely wrong? And
yeah, money.
Yeah. I mean, money is very important, but it's not the end all be all.
Correct.
Love it. All right. Well, moving on to your portfolio. Think about the entire portfolio, the stuff you've bought, the things you've sold, the things you passed on.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best deal is the one you don't buy. What property taught you the most unexpected lessons?
Well, I think I'll answer this a couple of different ways. The first one, I think you always, because it's the proof of concept, right? And again, you got to remember my story starts with wasting a year, because all the books I read, Cody, said you had to invest in your backyard. So while we like to talk about Norris Drive, what is often forgot is I spent a year looking in the Silicon Valley for cash flow. And that's often forgot in my story. But yeah, Norris Drive produced cash flow. It was, it met the standards. And then obviously everybody knows the story. The first tenant moved in, never paid rent, got divorced, destroyed the unit. It also taught me about Olivia, because she said, did we do anything wrong? No, let's try again. Because I was ready to give up, right? I came to real estate after suffering a gigantic loss in the stock market. Back to an earlier point, I'm a horrible stock market investor. And I was ready to give up again and be defeated again. And Olivia said, no, we didn't do anything wrong. Let's try again. So the first one was a huge, huge lesson. I'll say next was an 18-unit building we bought in the crash. I think we bought it in 11. The reason that told me a lot, and I think it's coming again, is I tracked that thing like a fisherman for almost 2 years, right? It was listed in the MLS. It was on LoopNet, Crexy, LoopNet for sure. I don't know about Crexy, for 1.44 million. And why 1.44 million? It's because that's what the owner paid for it 3 years before. And, fast forward 2 years, he lost the building, and the lender did extend and pretend, and finally had to foreclose. Unfortunately, the building was now a complete slumlord. I mean, the guy didn't put a penny into it for 2 years because he knew he was going to lose it. So we ultimately find the bank, the lender of it. We meet them, we go through the units, and we end up buying a unit, nothing down. We bought it for $700,000, nothing down. All we had to do was put $50,000 away in escrow to repair the units, which we would have done anyway. So again, sometimes you got to track deals for a long time. You got to follow up. You got to, make lots of conversations, but ultimately it's a numbers game, and it'll come your way. And that building now is well over $2 million, maybe higher. And yeah, it was a lesson in just not giving up. I think a lot of people in real estate write an offer, get denied, and give up. And thankfully, I have a sales career, and give up's not in my vocabulary, right? A no is permission to ask a new question. And that's just how I've always thought about it, right? The only way you're going to get me to stop getting a deal is either A, take it off the market, which probably is not going to stop me anyway. I'll still find you, or sell it to someone else, right? You sell it to someone else, I'll stop tracking it, right? Somebody else got it. But yeah, I mean, no is a permission to try again. So that was a big lesson in that one.
Yeah, love it. I love that one deal for 700. It's a screamer.
Yeah, nothing down. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. And on the nothing down, I do have one more question. This relates to how I built my portfolio. Nothing down.
Yep.
There's a lot of people online promoting the scale up fast, creative deals. It's definitely something that I did. I bought 230 rentals in 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that. I mean, it was crazy. It was stupid. I mean, it was great. I had to right size portfolio for it to be sustainable. But for people that want to do that route, because that is more attractive to some than the one rental at a time. And eventually, eventually they'll grow up and realize the light. What is an early blind spot for folks like that that's not really going to show up until probably year 4 or 5?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. If you grow, I mean, I know people like you're lightning in a bottle, right? I know people that buy 3 or 4 houses in a year, and it's the same thing. It's frankly overconfidence, right? When you're buying properties faster than you can run them, you most of the time are the numbers aren't right. You are overpaying, and your operation expenses are lower, and tenant occupancy is lower, and you're upside down and you don't know it. And the reason that is because you have no proof of concept. Yes, you proved you can buy it. You proved you can close, but you've not proved you can run a building. Whether that's 200 units or 10 single family homes, if you buy things too fast, you haven't learned if you're any good, right? You haven't learned if your underwriting's good. You haven't learned to be a landlord. You haven't learned the buildings. You haven't learned remodel costs. You haven't learned anything. That's why my biggest tell for everybody, even if you've got $1 million, you should just go buy one and then wait 6 months. Because most of the time, your initial offers, your initial assumptions, your initial underwriting are flat out wrong. And if you just keep executing wrong, fast, you're built on a shaky foundation, and it just takes a fart and your entire portfolio will blow up.
Yeah, truth. I mean, that's why I guess since we started talking, and I've been talking more with Dion too, I've definitely right-sized portfolio. We've been talking about that for maybe almost a year.
Probably.
The cash flow is stronger with 130 rentals that I have today, where I have next to no partners, than it was with 230 rentals.
Enough said. Yeah. Cash flow is what matters.
Absolutely. Nothing really else matters. Unit count,
no,
the equity. Yeah, I mean, equity is cool, but unless you're spending your principal, which you shouldn't do, it doesn't feed you. So that's all I got for you today.
This is fun. We should do this more often. We should get more of my guys to ask questions. I love peeling back the onion. Again, I'm very much both an open book. Like, I'll answer almost any question, but I just live in the mud, right? And just keep moving forward. So thanks for this opportunity to look and think back. I appreciate you being prepared and asking these questions. Cody, where can people find you?
Cody Davis Business Adventures on YouTube every Tuesday, Thursday. Mondays I go live, and Saturdays I post our videos. So we have 4 a week now. Yeah.
Damn, son, you're getting busy.
Busy. Almost as busy per week as you are per hour.
That's not true. Cody, you're amazing. Take care of yourself. Thanks again.
All right. See ya.